Hi fantasy managers, welcome to FPL Team Talk. In this video, I'm going to go through a Game Week 33 wildcard draft. I know a lot of you are putting the trigger on your wildcard chip, so I've put together 15 players that I would have picked for my wildcard side for Game Week 33 and beyond. We'll take a statistical analysis, a look at the fixtures, and stick around for the end where we'll go through some of the alternative options as well. So as always, if you enjoyed the video, give it a like. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe. And in the meantime, let's take a look. So there are only 6 game weeks left, game week 33 to 38, but some teams do have more than those 6 game weeks in which they're playing. On the likes of Manchester City, Manchester United have 8 games, we've got double weeks coming up, and Brighton have 9. So when I'm putting this wildcard side together, I'm very much focusing on those teams that are going to be having more fixtures than any other. Over such a short period of time, you would expect those players to be outscoring, especially when they're from sides like Manchester City, United, Brighton, or all in the top half of the table, all vying either for a championship, the title, the Champions League, albeit Europe. All good sides, all got good assets in them, and particularly in Brighton's case, some real value in there as well. So I will be heavily reliant on some of those players in this wildcard side. You've only got 5-6 game weeks to play your wildcard. This looks like the most obvious time to play it. You could alternatively, I guess, depending on the setup of your side, decide to go for sort of a free hit in game week 38 by just wildcarding then. But otherwise, this seems the most opportune time. Going back several years ago, one of the people that actually won the whole of FPL didn't even use his wildcard second time round in the second half of the season. He just thought it just wasn't worth it. He didn't need to. So don't have to if you don't think your side needs to. But I'd be surprised if a lot of us are in that position where you've got a wildcard in your back pocket and you wouldn't benefit from using it. So let's have a look at wildcard side based on that information of those teams that we'll be targeting. In goal, I've gone straight for Ederson, 5.4. I don't think it's a bad price for him. They have the best defence in terms of expected goals conceded. Ederson, he's frustrating. They do seem to concede just on the odd goal every now and then. I think of the Leicester game, didn't really threaten an awful lot. Leicester managed to score, just fell to Iheanacho's feet several yards out. I think Southampton scored against them the week before that. Again, didn't have a lot of threat going forward. But even against Arsenal, I don't mind playing Ederson. And the one thing that I do get with Ederson is I know he's going to play. There's a few players, Ake, lots of Akanji. We'll have to see about Ake's injuries, but Akanji, Stones potentially. But even Diaz, you wouldn't say they're absolutely nailed. Could I get them? Could I guarantee they're going to play over the next 6 game weeks? I'm not sure I would. Whereas Ederson, I think he's absolutely nailed in that side. So 5.4, I know he's going to play, and I've got a Man City asset in the best defence in the division. I don't envisage having to play him dropping for any of the games. I wouldn't mind playing him against Arsenal. And they also do have that double in 34, but then they've also got the Brighton game to rearrange. So at some point they'll have another double as well. All the more reason to get on those Man City assets. As a backup keeper, cheap playing goalkeeper, there is money with this left over, so you could go for someone else, but I've stuck with Everson. I know he's playing Leicester, not a defence I'm going to look to target or get behind anytime soon. But Ederson's just going to get that shirt for me, so I'm not even going to really be too worried about Everson. But it does save me money and gives me money elsewhere should anything happen to Ederson. Next in line then, I think I've got to go Trippier. His attacking threat is such that even if the fixtures weren't very good, I would have to consider putting him in. In terms of XGI, right up there with the very best for him. Only Trent really beating him. Better than James. Last couple of weeks, yes, conceding goals, but generally Newcastle's defence has been very good this season, with fixtures against Everton and Southampton coming up and a double in game week 36. I think it's a really... Trippier is just absolutely someone you have to get on. He's just on set pieces, carries an attacking threat, good for bonus points. He absolutely has to come into this side for me. He's one of the first names on the sheet. And also, just because of his high ownership, he's certainly not a differential, but I don't think I'd want to go without him. Luke Shaw, again, is another player that I definitely want to bring in. The fact that you've got the rearranged fixture against Chelsea is important as well. So they will end up with 2 extra fixtures over some other sides, let's say the likes of Arsenal. They double, and it's a pretty decent double, you'd have to say, in 34. Don't mind benching him possibly away at Tottenham. But again, he looks now he's going to be fit. back in the side. We'll have to check for the FA Cup to see if he does play in that. But he had minutes against Sevilla, albeit not a great experience for him. But otherwise, yeah, he's been brilliant this season. 5.1, I want to get on board. I'm pretty happy to have Shaw playing as a fullback in my side. 5.1 is a good price to have. Alongside him, Trent. I do think Liverpool, especially in Trent in particular, playing in that more sort of hybrid midfield role they talk about, his XGI has been brilliant all season. Got the double in 34, so that's quite decent as well. 2 home games. Possible captaincy opportunity you'd feel there, possibly if you didn't have some of the other assets. But fixtures look pretty decent for Liverpool between now and the end of the season. XGI, one of the highest there is. He is expensive, but I have the money. Yeah, Trent for me, I definitely want him in. Then we have Reece James. This is a little bit controversial, I do think, because Chelsea's defence have not been great. Reece James's underlying stats still look okay, but the fixtures look pretty decent. I'd definitely be benching him, I think, away at Arsenal, away at Man City, away at Bournemouth, at home to Forest. Happy to play him. Now they're at the Champions League, got nothing else to play for, 6 straight fixtures. I feel like he will definitely get minutes in all of those games. If you played FPL for any number of seasons, you'll know what an asset he is. 5.8, he can be just so explosive. And I don't mind benching him for some of those tougher games. So Reece James makes up part of that defence for me as well. And then finally, I think Brighton just have so many games. They've got more games than anyone else. And yeah, that is going to be an amount of rotation. Will Estepinian be part of that rotation? I don't know. But even if he is rotated for 1 game, 2 games max, he's still going to end up playing a game more than most other sides. Good double in game week 34. Forest away. Don't mind targeting in that in 33. Everton, Southampton at home, and a double as well with Man City to arrange. He looks very attacking for Brighton in defence. I really like him. I think he has to come in 4.7, and he is going to be the first of 3 Brighton players, given that they got more fixtures than anyone else in my side. The other one is going to be Matoma. Same fixtures, obviously, with that rearranged fixture to come in. His underlying stats have been really good this season. Remember, he's only 5.7. Probably him and the next Brighton player would be the pick of the midfielders for me. You could absolutely go for March. I'm not going to go for March. I'm going to go Estepinian at the back. I'm going to go Matona. And then I'm going to go Alexis McAllister on pens. Pretty much nailed. Provided Lallana doesn't come back, he will continue hopefully to play much further forward in that sort of CF role. And he's just been brilliant so far. So his underlying stats, XGI, probably much lower than what it has been in the last few weeks. He looks really good, cheap, and his Brighton fixtures look really nice. I've really backed McAllister over the last few weeks, captained him a couple of times, no issues, not let me down so far. On pens, like I said, he has to be in that side for me. And next up into midfield, then we have Rashford, again checking minutes for the FA Cup, but he did play in the second half against Sevilla, so they have the fixtures there, look pretty decent. Don't mind playing them, I don't think, against Tottenham. I do think they can still score there, and they have that rearranged fixture against Chelsea to play. Not a problem. He's just been on absolute fire. I think if, like me, you've got money invested in him already, it's a no-brainer to bring him in. If you haven't, I think you need to get on board him pretty quickly. He's been brilliant this season. I don't think I need to don't need to give much of a hard sell on Rashford. The other one then, given the fixtures, and they have decent fixtures, I just think I want to get on board is Bruno Fernandes. With Casemiro and Eriksen now back in, I think it now allows him to go much further forward. Hopefully he will be more involved. Against Forest, is pretty unlucky. He played Martial and it hit the bar as well. He looked very influential in that game. So let's hope that continues. You got a rest against Sevilla, if anything, so that's even better news. Rearranged fixtures still to come. He is expensive, I will say that. So there are other alternatives, but he kind of blocks you from doing a Salah move, which is the only thing I don't like about it. But you can downgrade him and go to Salah if you want to, and we'll look at that option later on. But otherwise, for me, Fernandes gets the nod. And then finally making up that midfield, I do want another Man City player in alongside Haaland. Spoiler alert, who's going to be in up front. And Grealish looks like he's the one who's going to get it. KDB's a little bit more expensive. I'd probably, if they were the same price, who would I go for? I think I would go KDB. But given the extra money it gives you with Grealish, I just don't think KDB's any more nailed than Grealish at the moment. But Grealish comes in, he's got the fixtures as we've seen already, looks pretty decent. 7.2 is decent for someone who's playing pretty much every week for Man City, the best side you'd say in the Premiership at the moment, on form. I don't think that's a bad price at all. So Grealish comes in, up front, not even going to go through it too much. You have to have him. Captaincy potential in game week 34. Whenever they double against Brighton, whichever week that goes in, you imagine it's another captaincy option as well. I potentially will look to triple captain him in game week 34 as well. If you still got that chip, that's an opportunity. But wow, look at that, 12-6. XGI is just off the scale. He's in. Up front then, alongside Erling Haaland, I've gone for Watkins. Even though he's got no double game weeks, there is potential. Just remember, you've got to bench 3 players at some point. He's just been on fire. I think at home to Fulham are playing away at Wolves. Tottenham at home wouldn't mind. Possibly benching for Man U, Liverpool. But 7.7, he's just been brilliant so far this season. Playing out of skin. Villa looking good. Still got stuff to play for. On penalties as now seems like the cherry on top as well. His XGI and underlying stats just getting better and better. 16, 7 and 9. Wow, he's been returning at the moment. So yeah, I think Ollie Watkins gets the nod for me, even though he hasn't got any of those double game weeks coming up. And then finally, Isak, 6.7. There is a case here for bringing in maybe someone else. You could risk someone like Tony if you're worried about the booking situation. We'll find out this weekend. 6.7. Isak looks pretty good. Underlying stats decent as well. Newcastle playing well. They do have the double later on in the season. Southampton at home, Everton away look decent as well. I quite like him. So that would make up my 15. If you want to look at a few different options, let's have a look now. So the whole value is actually bang on 100 million, but this may depend on how much value you've got wrapped up in your players already. Alternatives, yeah, I do like Aston Villa's defence at the moment. So you could go for someone like Moreno. If you didn't want to go Trent, you want to go Salah, you could possibly drop Trent down to Moreno and then invest that for Bruno money into someone like Moreno. I quite like him. He seems to pick of those Villa players at the moment. He seems to have more attacking potential than anyone else. Alternatively, you could go for Salah, we've talked about. I do think I would want to get Salah into the side. It's just where to get the money from. I don't really want to downgrade Trippier or Shaw, Ederson possibly, but it feels like it's the best defence I want to get involved in as well. Up front, I'm pretty cheap except for Haaland. So unless I went down to a Solanke or someone like that and take out Bruno, not sure where you could get Salah in. The other alternative as well, instead of Bruno, if you wanted to, you could go for someone like Anthony, 7.3. He looks pretty nailed in that midfield. And then the one side that we just have not covered, and I don't think it's a bad choice because they're just scoring against everyone, is of course Arsenal. You could go Saka, Martinelli, Odegaard, if you want to save money, downgrade a Bruno. Their fixtures just don't have any double game weeks. They do have quite a tough run of fixtures, given that they've got, I think it's Manchester City away, I'm doing this off the top of my head, they've got Newcastle, then Brighton. That looks quite tough. So I'm just steering away from the Arsenal assets. In terms of fixtures, if you're going fixtures over form, which I think I'm very much an FPL player that does that, I would certainly stay away. But you know what? It wouldn't take much of an argument to sway me down the Arsenal route because they're just scoring against everyone. That's it for this one then, guys. Let me know in the comments below if you are intending to use your wildcard for game week 33, or are you saving it for a week further down the line, given that there's not many weeks left now in which to use it by. If you are using it, who do you consider to be essential? Is there anyone that I've missed off the list that you think should be in there? In the meantime, we'll come back at you with team selection videos, watch lists, all that good stuff before the game week 33 deadline. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, give it a like, and I shall speak to you soon.